The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv.
After an interesting weekend, to say the least.
Yes. And I guess we have to start with our coach from our COVID expert, CJ, gives us our accurate update. I have to make that very clear. You're the guy that always finds all the mathematical errors.
Yeah, well, this wasn't a mathematical error. This was an actual, just forget about putting it out there, which I thought was interesting because normally he's very accurate. The mayor's very accurate on putting the cases out there. But yesterday, when I brought up the fact that where are the deaths, he finally came out with it. So he came out with an updated report, and in the state we have 93,693, 6,473 deaths, 57 new deaths, 442 new cases. Bristol County cases is 6,733. In Fall River, we went up 15 new cases to bringing our total up to 1196. Regretfully, there are 2 new deaths, bringing our total to 28. So, and it was interesting because I posted on the mayor's wall that I got the release from the city. Do they not communicate with the mayor? I mean, are people not talking to each other? What's going on? I mean, and we're still not getting information. People are still not getting information they want, and I think that's another issue that has to be addressed by the people with the mayor. A lot of people are saying online that this mayor really isn't doing anything, and they feel like they didn't have a choice. This was the guy that they had to pick. But they're going to have to live with what they got for 2 years unless they decide to recall him.
Well, yeah, you're right. And I'm just looking at some stats here on something else. But yeah, you're right. And obviously, the COVID virus is giving everybody their break. They're hiding from the reality of their actions and what we're doing and the gap or deficit or whatever you want to call it. So we're all and they're hoping for federal money to be misused so they can plug gaps up and never control their spending. And let's see what the city council does about that scenario, because there should be no there should be no plugging of a gap because of their fiduciary irresponsibility. And of course, we had the parade that caused a bit of discussion and a little bit of controversy. That the rolling whatever it was, and there were a lot of people. I believe that said there were people out there not social distancing and basically ignoring the rules like they do all over the country. But this is the Riv anyway. Who cares? And they just did it. And that's one of the things I believe that you objected to it on the first place.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, even Joe Good's Twitter feed had pictures showing people without masks congregating. And this is what I said to the mayor was going to happen. And I said this very clearly. And I sent this letter to him and the governor ignored it as well. So you know what? I don't want to hear it. I'm going to watch the numbers go up. Already reports are coming in from states that have opened up and have had celebrations of other types. And they've opened up and people are on the beaches and everything. And the cases are going up. Fall River is going to be next. And when it happens, like I said before, I will coin the term mayor of death. And the thing that really bothers me is at the staging area where this whole thing took off from, a city councilor told me, I will make sure that everyone maintains social distancing. Well, He did not do that. That city councilor did not do that. I've got video from a local media outlet, and it's showing all the bikers all congregating around their bikes. No 6 foot distance between them. They were all chit-chatting away. Very few had masks on. So what's going on? I mean, again, I wasn't against celebrating veterans, and it's not to celebrate veterans. It's to remember the people who have died. It's not for a party. But again, they made it a party. And going down Eastern Avenue, I believe you said you saw people who are congregating at the corners too.
Yeah, there were a couple of very large groups actually, and they had they had flags to wave and everything, which I obviously don't have a problem. They put flags on veterans' graves, my dad's grave, and all the veterans. But see, that's the issue I have. I have a different issue. As far as them congregating, I don't have a problem if they want to. I have a problem with them congregating, CJ, if they congregate around the elderly or children who have no ability to make a choice whether they get infected or not. But if these boneheads want to go swap spit or lick the counters, let them get it, and let them spread it to all their friends who would want to behave just as. What is that? Is that you?
That's my cell phone. Let me shut that down.
I thought it was something on microphone.
No, it was my cell phone. Sorry about that. I only expected it to not do it again, but hey, it happens.
But no, it does. This is live TV. So, but see, my problem is the concept of Memorial Day. And I guess everybody they can have their opinion. They can say Memorial Day is to celebrate and we should have fireworks and parades and everybody gets to feel good and I don't agree with that. I'm not saying don't feel good, but we have to feel good in a somber way, a different way of feeling good. We have to respect what Memorial Day is for. This is not Veterans Day. This is Memorial Day.
That's right.
It's a memorial for all the men who died and women who died serving their country. So this is not a celebration. It's a remembrance. It's an observance. It's not a day. 4th of July, shoot off all the fireworks you want. Have all the parades you want. Slap everybody on the back all you want. Because it's the birth of our country, the birthday of our country. Let's all have a party because we live in the most free country in the world. So let's celebrate that. But what did the President of the United States do? He laid a wreath on the Tomb of the Unknown. Biden, who's running for president, laid a wreath at the World War II and Korean Memorial. People lay wreaths. If somebody told me that these people were going to lay wreaths or bring wreaths to the Gold Star families we have in Fall River, which we do have many, I would say that is a fitting tribute. It's a fitting thing to do on Memorial Day. Honor the people who died for their country. That's what this is about. This isn't about having a party. And all the politicians who were in that parade, you did it for political reasons. Because if you had any idea what Memorial Day stands for, you wouldn't have been there. You would have been at a grave site. Go put a wreath on somebody who died in one of our wars. You realize that I don't think they do realize. We had over 400,000 Americans die in World War II. Nearly 500,000 Americans died fighting for this nation. And we had another over 600,000 casualties. So we're talking about a million sacrifices above and beyond. All gave some gave all. But the reality is that's what Memorial Day is about. That's what it's about for me. I don't go to parades on Memorial Day. I stay home. I remember the men I served with. I remember my dad's service and everybody else who served. And I take out my nice 18-year-old scotch and I have a drink in their memory. And that's the way I celebrate it. Most people who know me know don't bother me on Memorial Day. It's not a day. It's not a party day for me. It's a day of solemn remembrance. And I think that was totally wrong. And it had nothing to do with the coronavirus. I object to Memorial Day parades, period, because I don't believe it's a parade day. You want to gather the people of Fall River at somewhere to place a wreath in honor of those who died? Yeah, let's make it what it is, not a party. And that's just my personal opinion. And you can see, and the people out there you can feel free to disagree with me, but that's my opinion. It is a day that we were supposed to, it was created to remember those who gave all for our country.
Well, and no better person than you to say it. You're a veteran. Your father was a veteran. So, and you know what it means because you lost friends in the battle. You lost friends and brothers in arms in the battle. And, would they throw a party? Probably not. But again,
They'd have a get together and they'd remember. It's not, as I said, it's a solemn occasion. But CJ, there are cultures who maybe they disagree. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I know that the Irish, they drink and they celebrate it a week.
Yes, they do.
But unfortunately, I don't think that correlates. I believe that these men died. Some of them in the prime of their life, not even the prime, before they even reach the ability to enjoy their life. Some of the 400,000 men who died in World War II never got to come home, see their children, or get married and have children and live a life. Every war we've ever had, be it Korea, and they can call them anything they want, police actions, like Korea was called a police action, from our Revolutionary War till today. And it's just it's something that's that is very important to me and personal to me. As I said, I would never name a bridge or a street after any politician or anybody else except somebody. We have got nearly 500,000 people who died in World War II. When you name every street and every bridge and every overpass after somebody who died serving their country, and then you name all the rest of the streets and schools and overpasses after people who sustained traumatic injuries, like I see the guy who was burnt and is horrifically disfigured. He's always on that commercial in the afternoon. And see somebody like that who came home with no fingers and no face and permanently scarred for the rest of his life serving his nation. To me, I don't like politicians anyway. I won't make any bones about it. We're always truthful on this show. I have absolutely no use for politicians. They're the only classification that's worse than lawyers.
Well, you know what they say about politics. Poly meaning many, ticks meaning bloodsuckers.
When you name schools and you name things after politicians, I think it's BS. So, but that's my spiel on the parade. I didn't agree with it, and I didn't agree with it not only for COVID-19. If it wasn't COVID-19, I would still not agree. I have never participated, never gone to a parade on Memorial Day. I don't go to parades anyway. To me, these things are personal. And as I said, I have my own way of celebrating it. My close friends know that how I celebrate Memorial Day, and it's not with a parade. It's a celebration in a way, a celebration for the people that I knew, and my dad, and the people who served, and those people who died, who never had a chance to come home and live their life and enjoy the American dream that they protected.
Well, that's a commentary from you for sure, and I can't say I disagree with you. Let's move on to some other lovely information. The school departments, the Department of Education and Secondary Education, DESE, is formed a committee of people to plan out the opening of school for the summer and for the fall. But Matt Hills, and he's from Newton, Massachusetts. So this is why I'm bringing up this guy from Newton, Massachusetts. There's a great interest in the work of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in doing around reopening. He said the department suddenly gets mentioned all the time. I can't imagine not having a plan to reopen the schools, and the governor will ultimately make the decision. But I think it's terrific we're doing it. And it's hitting in places that don't normally say, we can't wait to hear what DESE says on something, Hill said. Interesting that, Mr. Hill's position is he's glad that they're doing something finally. Well, so am I. The only problem I have is they don't have any public health professionals on their committee. They've got school administrators, they've got school superintendents, they've got a couple of teachers, but they don't have any public health people. How can they make decisions regarding public health issues if there's no one with the background to make those decisions?
Well, you're right, TJ, and obviously you would know being a public health professional, but therein again lies another problem area for me with politicians. They love to deflect. So they love committees. Everybody loves committees, and our mayor loves committees. Now, this guy loves to talk about a team. It's not a team. When they fought at D-Day, they had one general running D-Day and coordinating all the efforts. That's what leaders are. You are elected to be a leader. As far as I'm concerned, committees are just deflections. So they can say, well, I'm following a recommendation of the committee. And as you said, the committees are normally made up of political hacks and people who know nothing. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if we want to talk about what we're going to do with the Fall River Public Schools, the superintendent gets paid to make those decisions. The superintendent should consult with healthcare professionals, not with a bunch of political hack stooges, and say what should we do? Let's look at the stats. Let's look at the Abby's decided to play with a frisbee now. He should consult with public health professionals, look at the stats, come up with a plan based on our unique region. As they said, one size does not fit all. So let's look at the numbers as you do every day, and they mean something to you. With me, they're numbers, and I can understand increases and decreases, but obviously you, as a healthcare professional, understand what affects those numbers more. You understand that. You understand how certain behaviors can adversely affect it or actually be a positive movement. So, look, I don't like ducking responsibility. I've never ducked responsibility. When I was in the military, I had my area of responsibility, and I had to take it. Otherwise, somebody would have taken my stripes away from me. When I was in a fire department, at every rank, I had different responsibilities, and I could not shirk those duties. When you're a department head, you don't make committees. When you're the mayor, it's not a team. You can listen to people. You should go to experts for advice, as far as I'm concerned. But you're the captain of the ship if you're the mayor. You're the captain of the school department if you're the superintendent. Now, he may say, to hell with you, go to Russia. That's not the way I do it. But then again, I don't even live in Fall River. But that disturbs me. It disturbs me greatly when people, they love to make committees. And I have never seen a committee fundamentally that was used for anything except a deflection.
True. You can't beat that at all. But in regards to opening the schools, this Matt Hills said again, I don't know what level, but realistically, when the state expenses are ballooning and revenues sort of drastically declining, it probably means that large budget accounts are likely to go down. Unless money just falls from heaven or from the federal government, he said. It is that a pessimistic view or a realistic view. Understanding we just don't know. And that's the problem. We don't know. And I brought this up on previous shows. How are they going to socially distance these children in schoolrooms? How are you going to keep 5 and 6-year-olds away from each other? You can't have them sharing anything. No sharing of pens, pencils, crayons, markers, desks, none of that. School systems that have reopened in the country have had it so very difficult because they've said in the recommendations that there's no cafeterias anymore. They will eat at their desk in their classroom. And when you start distancing people at 6 feet apart, you're cutting the class in half, if not more. So that's going to be a problem in and of itself. And if they're not looking at that as well, there's going to be a big problem. But once again, it's a school system, and it's all about money for them. And we're going to see huge cuts because last night they said without saying that they're going to be looking at some cuts because of the budget. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, last night the city had a virtual town hall meeting with the mayor and the state delegation, Paul Schmid, Alan Silvia, Carol Fiola, and Mike Rodrigues. And Mike Rodrigues, being the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, said very clearly, we hope we don't have to go down to the 9C cuts. But you and I know, Chip, when they say, I hope that we don't, that means we're going to. And the other thing is, a quote was heard that said, the only way we're going to get out of this is to either have 9C cuts or increase taxes. And Mike Rodrigues said the same thing yesterday. There's only 3 ways for us to balance the budget. Cut the budget, raise the taxes. I forgot what his third thing was. But
listen, CJ, there's another burr under my saddle all the time. You know what our problem is? The government's running this, and the government can't run anything. We already talked about how this city and Mary Sahadi all they know how to do is pick your pocket. They can't tighten their belt. They can't consolidate. They can't streamline. They're not going to get rid of an administrator with a 6-figure salary. They're going to threaten public safety. And let's just look at the government, what it did. This pandemic, they made it where they made a new welfare system. Why do people on welfare don't get off welfare? They're not going to take a minimum wage job. They're not on welfare because they got a degree in nuclear physics. So they're not going to take a job for minimum wage and actually have a worse life than when they're on welfare. They're on welfare. They get a place they get food, whatever they call them, EDPTB cards or whatever the hell they are. But they get food they get their food bill supplemented. They get a place to stay with adjusted rents. They got everything. So they're going to go work for minimum wage. They're living better without working. We wonder why we can't eliminate the welfare system. Well, we created a new one now. The geniuses in Washington gave people more when they got out of work than when they were working. Not the same amount, more.
Right.
I saw a program yesterday where half the people don't want to come back to work because they're losing money. So you know what the genius government, what their cure was? They created the problem by giving people more when they're not working than they got when they were working. Now people don't want to come back. So you know what their great solution is? What they always do, throw money. Now they want to get money to give people bonuses for coming back to their jobs. Most people would have kissed the ground to get their job back. But now you stuck the government in there and all they did was throw money at it because they don't give a crap of how much money they throw. Because you know why? We're going to get taxed up the wazoo for the rest of your natural life to pay the bill.
And your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren.
Yeah, and the only thing they know how to do is spend money. And Mike Rodrigues is full of crap. That's not the only way to trim the budget. Get rid of your $80,000 stipend for being a big wig in the Senate. Get rid of all the stipends you get for being in charge of a committee. You were what, number 3 in the state?
Yeah.
Collected stipends the last time they released it.
Yeah.
Let you guys get rid of some of Remember when you used to get a year credit towards your retirement for working one day? And you only needed 6 years to get vested rather than 10 like a normal worker? Let's get rid of some of the fat. There is another way. We had $1 billion surplus, and this thing is, this state and all government is so obese, they could go without food for maybe a half a century before they could fit in anything but sweatpants. So forgive me if I'm furious over this, because all this COVID virus did was highlight the incompetency of politicians.
Well, and the other thing that you have to realize is these people want to stay on unemployment because they're collecting that extra $600, so they're bringing home, $700-800 a week, which they never brought home before. The other thing they're not realizing is that money is taxable, so they will get taxed on it. But they don't want to go back to work because they're getting it. Well, it's the employer's fault. When the employer calls them back to work and they say no, you say, fine, that's a voluntary termination. I will notify unemployment and you will not be off the unemployment rolls. And they should be notifying unemployment immediately. They didn't make it any easier. They made a website for employees to go to report people who were refusing to return to work. And they'll take them off the rolls. And then if they get it too long after they were supposed to be off the rolls, guess what? They'll make them pay it back. And people need to understand that. When you get an offer to return to work, that's an offer to return to work. That's not an option. It's not, well, if I want to, I will. And people are already making excuses. Well, I can't go to work because my kids are home, and I can't do this because my kids are home, and I can't do that because my mother's home. And hey, guess what? What did you do beforehand? What did you do before this COVID-19 thing kept out? Did you say you couldn't go to work then because your kids were home? No, I don't think so. I think you went to work.
Well, what did they do during the Great Depression?
That's right.
When they used to shut their electricity off, because you know something, if they didn't have television and Netflix, they'd all be begging to go back to work, because in the old days, like I said, just watch the movie Cinderella Man. A guy that became heavyweight champ of the world had his electricity shut off, his heat shut off, had to send his children to live with relatives because his wife and him were freezing to death. They couldn't keep their children. Their children were sick. They didn't have money to take them to the doctors. That's why they were. Is it fair? No, but life's unfair. But it made them hard. It made them learn how sometimes life is not a bowl of cherries. And the thing is that these people, all we have is Doug and Wendy Weiner now. Remember the old Saturday night?
Yes, I do. I remember them very well.
Doug and Wendy Weiner. That's all we have.
Yeah.
All they whine about what's going on. And, I can't go back to work because of this. Like, no, you can't go back to work because you're making more money sitting on your butt than you did when you were working. So everybody stay healthy. Screw the government. And tell them if they raise your city taxes, let's get our underride.
That's it. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. We'll see you on Friday. Wow, Friday this week because it's a short week for us. We'll see you on Friday. Stay safe and stay angry.
Stay healthy.